to tell everyone that we officially have 1,800 Women's Mortgage Network Facebook members. So imagine this, ladies. 1,800 members, and it's AIM Fuse Week. Well, we want to thank everyone for joining us today because every week we get to educate, inspire, and share your progress as we lift each other up to new levels. On today's show, we have three WMN panelists that are going to give us some insights into what it's like being a woman in the mortgage technology space. So let's meet our panelists. We have Luca Jordan. She is the marketing manager with Homebot. Next, we have Hillary Ann. She is the SVP of Sales at Verse. And finally, we have Rosa Romaine. She is the Chief Client Officer at Leadpops. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. And I can't wait to hear from each and every one of you. And I need to start at the beginning because each one of us has that story of our journey of how we got into this business. And I really think it's important that we hear from each of you to kind of put a foundation down. So, Luca, let's start with, how did you get into technology being a young lady?
Thanks so much. And thanks for having me today. It's great to be here and to connect with everybody. So I had an interesting journey. I started out at Zillow Group, which is a little bit more on the real estate side, but kind of fell in love with the tech culture there, the fast-paced nature of it, and, really shifting to meet market needs. And I think that's where I got into the mortgage and real estate world. Everything is changing so quickly. 1 minute we're in a refi boom, and then all of a sudden purchases are hitting late in the purchase season. And with the market shifting so quickly, it's super important for the technology to keep up with that. And I think that's something really unique and special about our space. From Zillow, I moved on to a company called Promentech, which is a point of sale solution. So sort of like a Blend or Be Smarty or Cloudberga. And that's where I really fell in love with the mortgage space specifically. I think it's, there's something about it being somebody's largest purchase. I was looking into buying my first home at the time, and it's such a huge decision. And the loan officer plays such a critical role in guiding you through that process and really being your advisor for the largest purchase you're ever going to make, your largest asset. And I think as we see more tech come into the space, we see the importance of the loan officer really playing that advisor role and really being that client for life go-to advisor throughout the homeownership journey. And I truly believe that it's tech's role to facilitate that and to empower consumers to see loan officers as that resource and give loan officers the bandwidth to be able to be that resource for everybody. So, tech should never be aiming to replace anything that a loan officer does, but the exact opposite, to power them up to do their job even better and to be that person for everybody in their database. And so I became really passionate about that when I found Homebot, a company that does just that, drives those relationships home, focuses on client retention, and positions the loan officer as that go-to advisor for everyone in their database throughout the homeownership journey. And so it's a mission that I was behind before finding Homebot, and I was fortunate enough to find myself a role and be able to apply my history in marketing to the Homebot team and drive this mission forward.
Awesome. Love it. And I'm just curious, do you own a home? Have you actually gone through the process?
I do.
Awesome. Wonderful. All right. Yeah. We'll circle back on that. All right, Hillary, tell us that journey. Give us, when did you get into it? When did you realize, like Luca just said, when did you realize, wow, there's something different about this industry and I really want to dive into it and keep going? Tell us your story.
Yeah, for me, and my story is actually similar to Luca's. So, after college, I worked in escrow and title. Actually, I've always just loved real estate. I thought I wanted to be an architect for a while, but I've always had a little bit of that technology kind of urge because I think it's just cutting edge and it's on the next level. And, I joined the Homes.com group in 2010. So, I was a sales manager, director of sales for them. I helped them build several sales offices out here and also in Norfolk, Virginia. I'm in San Diego. And ultimately, when I met David Tull, our CEO, I sort of just fell in love with his vision. My own personal mantra is a Zig Ziglar quote, which is, you can have everything you want in life if you can just help enough other people get what they want. And really coming from that place of how do we help these industries? How do we help? So at Verse, formerly Agentology, for those of you who know our journey, we were primarily real estate focused. We're a lead engagement and qualification machine, if you will. We use artificial intelligence as well as real people to engage, qualify, and nurture leads. And this is a huge issue in real estate. And about a year and a half ago, we realized it's an even bigger issue in mortgage. Yeah. Real estate is sort of a lead machine, if you will. I mean, we generate 100 million leads for 5 million homes to close every year. But in mortgage, there's just so much more to the transaction. There's so much more of a relationship opportunity that we can add value to. And by using tech, we're able to really leverage that. I can, kind of give credit here to the AIM group, if I'm being honest. I mean, the AIM event last year, we were able to be a part of it. We met, some incredible people in this space. And frankly, I've learned so much about mortgage in the last year and a half that I just don't think your average consumer understands, right? Nope. Like, you need a real estate agent, but you don't know that you need a mortgage broker. And so many folks just walk into their bank and just sort of take whatever deal there is that day. And I love that at Verse, we get to be a part of that. We get to help maintain that relationship. Homebot's an incredible product. We have integrations with Homebot too. So, as Homebot sort of identifies these opportunities, Verse can kind of step in and help. So, tech is the future. Like, it's sort of obvious at this point, but in the next 10 years, everything will be digital. I mean, we'll order everything through our Alexa. So for me, it's just kind of always being on that cutting edge, but drive value back to a market and your customer. And that's why I love this space.
Awesome. Okay, Rosa, tell us your journey.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. I'm really excited to share. So I started in a call center mass markets in my heyday, but I actually got into tech and mortgage in 2003. My role was actually to come in and be a marketing liaison between all of the loan officers and the real estate agents. This is during subprime.
I remember 2003 mortgages all very well.
It was awesome. I couldn't believe we had so much inbound call volume, and we managed nationwide campaigns. And that was when really social media was, it wasn't like
infancy.
Yeah, very infancy and very digital. But what we were focusing on is making sure that all the lead generation campaigns, from guerrilla marketing tactics all the way to online marketing tactics, were coming to fruition. We're measuring ROIs. We also started working with our in-house developers because back then we were so large. I ended up having the pleasure of traveling to different locations across the country. We ended up growing up to about 500 loan officers and 300 real estate agents. Wow. So being in the trenches, then my team called me out and I had to get in there and do some loans myself. And actually do real estate a couple of times just to prove that I could sit a la Glengarry Glen Ross. After The Big Short, as you all know, I had to shift. I was actually pregnant with my daughter at the time. I was here in San Diego. I just got a big high rise down in Mission Valley, but things were falling apart. We were literally training all of our team to turn into loan modification, if you can remember those days. Yeah. So we were trying to shift everyone, and we were basically changing their presences out there, right? They all had websites out there back then, not as great as they are today. Definitely not like a Leadpops site with all the conversion and capture we have today, but really trying to shift them from what is their value prop to the market, and what is their value prop to themselves so they can stay in this industry. A lot of them did stay, do the loan modification stuff. Some of them went into real estate and some of them fell out. So I was excited while I was there. I was able to work on the company intranet. able to work on, multi-level platform for these real estate agents. So I ended up applying at a company called Z57 that's here in town. And I ended up having a blast. So what we did there was we actually did all of the online services for real estate agents. I was responsible for managing 18,000 of them across the country. So with that, I learned a lot around what do they need to do lead generation? What does this technology really do for us? And I was really excited about, changing up a little bit more into what can I do for the loan officer and the real estate agent at a deeper level. And then obviously with the new tech and me loving to future-proof any business that I'm in and the people I work with, made it really compelling for me to stay in the tech side of mortgage. After that, I was recruited to go work in franchising, and I had the pleasure of learning how to do franchise recruiting with a company called Berkshire Hathaway. And basically what we did was we offered them a way to grow their franchise. They had a smaller company called Real Living at the time. And what I focused on was what solutions are you giving them so that you can recruit, more of their agents? And we actually started to build out a lot of the different locations across the country. So recruiting was a big opportunity for me to also shift into tech mortgage recruiting, and I had the pleasure of doing that there. So I'm a big fan of anything tech. I'm definitely a big fan of this industry. I've been through it up and down, and I can tell you I'm going to be here to stay. So most recently, I came and joined Andrew obviously when I was in the mortgage field. He was also in the mortgage field, and our CEO currently, Andrew Pollock, came and started a company called Leadpops. I actually had him call me a couple of times, and I decided to join. We're going on to 2 years. In October will be my 2-year anniversary. And like Hillary said, with AIM and everything that happened, it's just been amazing to be here. It's been amazing to watch the growth. It's amazing to be part of the market now. But I've been there where it wasn't so exciting, and I've actually been there when it's been exciting. I think we're back to those exciting times. So
yeah, and that's the thing about the mortgage industry, and I think all of you have seen that. The mortgage industry is all cycles, right? So you have to understand that it's always going to be up and down, but there's always constants along that way too, and all of you are seeing that. Okay, so now what I want to find out is, okay, so you ladies jump into mortgage technology, you've crushed it, you've arrived at these great places. What I want to know, and I know this from the mortgage side, but I don't know it from the mortgage technology side. What would you say the value of seeing things from a woman perspective now that you're in mortgage technology? So Hillary, let's start with you. What component, where does some of the things of how you approach things or your perspective, how does that help your company and our industry?
Yeah, that's a really great and very hard question. I'm just going to answer it for me. And I think that, my perspectives over the years, especially in sales, just in general, in this industry and real estate and everywhere, is really just focusing on the relationship. I think women do this well. I think that's part of, our networking skill, if you will, and possibly part of I guess you could say our friendliness skill. I don't know that it's a huge point of leverage and difference, but I can tell you that for, my teams and really our business, that's really big. One of our biggest focuses is how do we drive more relationships? It's not just driving some metric or some number at the end of the day. Like, it's how do we help our customers leverage better relationships, get into more conversations, to really kind of drive value would be my perspective on that.
And I agree with you. I think that is a very good answer. So no, it wasn't hard. You got it. I think that definitely is something that as women is very important to us and comes natural. And we should definitely embrace that and utilize that. That is wonderful. Yeah. All right, Rosa, what do you think?
So I think it's great that there's a lot of women in this process, and everything from, I really feel like the woman, usually even in the relationship, is influencing the man on the purchase decision. So I think just kind of crossing the chasm, and it was a hard question for me too, Hillary. I had to stop and really think about it. But honestly, it's more, a lot of women are in this process, and you look at the real estate side, lots of women in real estate. And I think that it's important to kind of assume that women are going to be part of this process, and just having our perspective and kind of aligning and calibrating with them on what I feel is, important to capture is really the perspective I'd like to share in terms of intertwining mortgage tech, is that mortgage tech is really going to need a lot more input from women because they are part of the process, whether it be at the loan level with the husband, or if it's if it's somebody that's actually trying to understand a real estate agent, how to work with them. A lot of times my team comes over and they say, hey, I have 4 gals on the line, but they're all real estate agents. How do I talk to them, right? And that'll be a guy, sales rep speaking to them. So I think it's important to just acknowledge that we're all here, and listening to a lot of what we have to say, because it's important perspective, is going to be critical, I think, for anyone. And I think it's something that is hard to answer, but it's probably because it's such an easy answer.
Right, because it's natural, right?
Yeah.
Historically, it's natural, right? Yeah. And it's really interesting, the statistics. You're seeing the percentage of female single women that are purchasing home. That's the biggest amount of growth that we've seen over the last few years. So you are also seeing this wide representation of young women actually purchasing their first homes. Right. So even that component is a little different. All right, awesome. Luca, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely echo what Hillary and Rosa said. I think, Homebot, we have about 50% women working here. So everybody, it's fantastic. I think everyone brings different perspectives and different unique skill sets to the table. But kind of building off of what Hillary and Rosa were saying about relationship building, I think that also lends itself very well to collaboration, which is really key in any company, but specifically smaller tech startups where there is so much overlap and so much cross-functionality between departments. It's really key to have open lines of communication. And I think that relationship building and that communicative nature lends itself very well to that type of environment.
Yeah, great, wonderful. And you're right, Hillary. She had posted here, cheers to Ruth Bader Ginsburg for actually a female being able to purchase a home by herself. So yes, we definitely want to pay respects, because yes, we couldn't even do that without having a co-signer or have our husbands or someone on with us. Right. So very good point, Hillary. Absolutely. Okay, so you ladies are in tech. You're making a difference in these roles. Now I want to actually learn lessons learned. Things that you guys have actually learned that you want to share, because like I said when we started this, I'm excited about this panel because we don't necessarily on the mortgage, origination side, we don't necessarily know what happens on the technology side. So I'm curious, some lesson learned that you can share with all the ladies in our group from our perspective. So, okay, let's say Rosa.
Okay, so lessons I can learn is I like to calibrate with the loan officers, but I also like to calibrate with my team. So one of the things I like to share here are all the lessons of, I guess different women telling me, how do you do it? How do you work with, all these men? And how is that so easy? I like to say that I've learned a lot of lessons because I have had those interactions that weren't always so positive. But after spending so much time working on becoming an expert, having the confidence, and always finding myself adding value to whatever the barrier might be that they may have. I feel the lesson I've learned is that they're not that different. I feel like if we put together a goal in place and we build that rapport together, we create that unified goal, we all want drive, we all want desire to win. And I feel like we're not that different as long as there's somewhat of a common goal attached. So the big lesson I guess I would share is guys are pretty cool. You just have to try to relate to them. And if you don't, I have noticed the difference. I've noticed when it's very matter of fact and there's this expectation that he's this role, you're this role, you two should work together, but there's still the just genuine, personality of each other. And I think the effort that we all need to bring to making sure that works so that, you guys both can achieve that common goal. So I guess my lesson is they're not that difficult to work with. And I don't mean to call them they, men are awesome. I just want to make sure that I share that, I've had my scenarios that haven't been so positive, but I've been able to turn them around. And now in my career, I find it's like no longer a barrier for me.
I love it. Well, thank you very much. That's wonderful. All right, Luca.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Rosa. I absolutely agree. I would say one significant lesson that I've learned is to always keep the desired outcome in mind. Make sure that's always top of mind. Don't get caught up in the moment when you're being challenged, because that's going to happen. And I think making sure your end goal is always top of mind when you are trying to achieve something is really crucial. I think details are key. But sometimes it's okay to concede on something smaller. Sometimes it's okay to give in on something smaller if that's helping you achieve your larger goal and helping you reach that end goal. So just trying to always keep that in mind and not let yourself get caught up in kind of smaller bits and pieces of things that are going to get you there. And then this is just another larger kind of lesson that I think I've learned from working in tech is to leverage the resources around you. You have so many great people that you're working with, and folks tend to have more niche areas of expertise. So I'm in marketing. I lean so heavily on our director of CS and our, director of sales and our director of product and our director of data and all the folks on their teams as well. There's so much expertise and value there that I may not have in my background, but I can really learn from. So whether it's, collaborating together on a project and hearing different points of view and input on how to tackle a specific challenge, everybody's going to have a different idea and a different perspective, which is ultimately going to help you get to that best approach. So use that to your advantage. Focus on what different folks' strengths and weaknesses are and see what you can learn from them, because chances are you have some really great resources around you, and just use them to your advantage.
Yeah. And the first thing that you said is something very profound. If it's one of those things that you learn when you've been in your career for a very long time, sometimes you have to know which things to dig in on and which things to let go. You don't necessarily have to win at everything. Sometimes you can let something that's not as important go in order to win the bigger mission. So very good, Luca. That's great advice. All right, Hillary.
Yeah, I'll kind of echo both Rosa and Luca. I think that, keeping your company hat on is important, especially in a leadership role. It's, we all kind of know the adage, right? It's not about you, but I think that you can drive conversations better and possibly even drive change by, just kind of keeping your company hat on in general. The second thing I would say is lean into tech. Men in general, I think, are a little bit more less risk averse, I guess you could say. Like they sort of take larger risks, which I think in a lot of ways leads them into careers that are on the cutting edge already, right? Like they tend to go into tech first. They were doctors first, and we could debate society later if you want. But I think naturally they just sort of end up in those types of places. And I think it's important as a woman and really just as a human to just constantly be leaning in and learning. I've been learning, outside tech, R, Python, learning how to code. Like these, I'm in sales. I mean, these things are not anything I want to do with my career necessarily, but having that understanding and being able to communicate effectively across departments is really important. And, when you can lean in and learn the tools and the language around other departments, I think it helps you keep that company hat on, helps you relate to people a little bit better, and really kind of helps bridge the gap as you're working towards goals.
I love that. And that really is fabulous advice, right? You are right. Usually, like you said, the men are a little more, they'll go out there first and they'll kind of pave the way, right? Where we'll kind of watch a little bit and then slowly go into it. But you're correct. Why? Right?
Yeah.
You all keep learning, just keep go for it.
Right.
And what I'm so proud of, I mean, obviously I'm so proud of being part of AIM and the Women's Mortgage Network. And personally, if you ask me, I think this last year, especially in the pandemic, I think the women came out loud and proud. And I think we showed up and we said, okay, we've got this, no problem. Yep. So I am so impressed with you ladies. Obviously, congratulations on just what you guys are doing. Continue to be out there, continue to use your voices, and just keep doing what you're doing, because you are making a difference. And remember, all of us are paving the way for those behind us. So there's girls in high school right now, that don't even know what's to come. And you guys are paving the way and forging that for them. So thank you for that. You have been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And we wish you all the best. Keep doing amazing things. All right, everyone.
Thank you.
We've got AIM Fuse this Friday. We're so excited. We can't wait. And next week on the Growth Series, we have the one and only Katie Sweeney, where we are actually going to have a conversation about leadership, and change. And of course, I'm sure we'll have a little discussion about how awesome AIM Fuse was. So have a great week, everyone.
Guys.